What I'm going to try to do in the next half hour is to talk about why we're involved with the Gazelle group, what our role is in that, and trying to clarify what brought us to this point today. I also want to have a look at some of the principles that underpin the Gazelle ethos and how they apply to Gateshead College. And I also want to have a look at what we mean by entrepreneurship, because it's a difficult word and it conjures up different images in different people's heads, and it can be misleading. There's a nice picture. I'll be sharing these slides with everybody, so you can use any of this wherever you like, okay? None of it's copyright. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to think about this. Are you an entrepreneur? Personally?
Is that a trick question?
No, it's not a trick question. Just think about it honestly. Do you regard yourself as an entrepreneur? Come to that in a moment. I apologise for the American focus of that video, but you use what you can find. And they're very proud of their 200 years of history, I can tell you that for nothing. Okay, has that made anybody rethink their interpretation of whether or not they're an entrepreneur or not? Okay. We are staring at a very, very uncertain future. A lot of the old paradigms, a lot of the context, and a lot of the guarantees that we all grew up with about if you get a good education, if you get qualifications under your belt, there will be a job waiting for you at the end of that, just don't exist anymore. The young people that we're working with are facing a very, very different future. And one of the reasons we're looking at entrepreneurship as a driver for curriculum change, which is the focus of why we're here today, is that entrepreneurs are a group of people who collectively are used to working with uncertain futures. They have methods and they have a mindset and a skill set that allows them to do that. And it's that skill set that we need to engender in the young people that we work with, to give them the chance to succeed in the future, not just to get a job, not just perhaps to start their own business, not just to cope with the demands of having a portfolio career, but also in all of their lives. And it's a mindset that I think, and the college thinks, and the Gazelle group thinks, that we all need to adopt. I don't know how many people of you people in the room saw Julie Mayer speak in this room a couple of months ago. Julie Mayer, the author of Welcome to Entrepreneur Country. One of the things she said that evening actually struck a chord with me, and that was, as soon as the global recession hit, as soon as the banking crisis kicked in, we all moved into entrepreneur country. All of our futures became more uncertain, and all of us need a methodology and a mindset and a skill set that allow us to deal with uncertainty. It's quite a scary thing, but entrepreneurs, and a lot of research that's gone into the way entrepreneurs actually function and operate, actually reveals that there are strands running through that make them effective as people. Serial entrepreneurs exhibit a lot of very similar behavioral characteristics. By serial entrepreneurs, I mean people who set up successful businesses one after the other, and they tend to go about them in a very similar way. And it's very different to the way lay people think business operates. It's not about business plans, as you'll find out as you work through the day. It's not about balance sheets. It's a lot to do with people, and it's a lot to do with a mindset and a skill set that allows them to succeed. Okay. Let's have a look at what entrepreneurship means, and what the entrepreneurial college means, and what an entrepreneurial curriculum means. And I'm going to be very negative actually and start with wonderful grammar. This is what it's not. Entrepreneurship in education doesn't mean running lots of enterprise qualifications, starting lots of businesses, running lots of competitions. And another myth that I want to burst straight away about the Gazelle Group and the Entrepreneurial College Initiative is we're not developing a one-size-fits-all branded curriculum model that all of the colleges who are part of the Gazelle organisation are going to adopt. That's been made very clear from day one, and none of the colleges involved want that to happen. So when we think of Gazelle as a group of colleges, I don't want us to think of them as they. I want us to think of them as we. And that's the whole point of this learning exercise. We're part of that group. We influence that group. A lot of the ideas that are being put forward by that group to policymakers, to government, to the wider audience in FE, come from this college as well as the other colleges. Okay? Let's have a look at what it is then. That's why we're here today. It is transforming the way we design and deliver our curriculum. And I've talked about uncertain futures, and these are some of the key things that describe what entrepreneurship as a driver for curriculum change actually is. We will learn from the methods and approaches practiced by entrepreneurs. We will focus on the individual long-term aspirations and goals of our learners. That is absolutely key to why we're changing our curriculum and how we're going to go about it. We need to look beyond college. It's not about qualifications anymore. It's about equipping young people to succeed beyond their journey with us. I'll come back to expert learners. That's something you're going to hear all day. Yes, we want to become more entrepreneurial as an organisation. And yes, that bottom one is very similar to the second one. I never noticed that yet. Okay. A little bit about the Gazelle Group and how we got here. About 2.5 years ago, two college principals sat down. One was Fintan Donoghue from North Harts College, and one was our very own Richard Thorold. They were at the AOC conference, I think, and they were having a pint, like you do, and their conversation led them to horizon scanning, I suppose, and they realised then that they had a very, very similar view of what was happening in the future and what we needed to do with our learners. And they both had an interest in entrepreneurship as something that could influence the curriculum. That group expanded as they met more like-minded individuals who were college principals to 5 colleges. And they are the founder colleges of the Gazelle Global Group. So when we're one of the key members of that original set of 5 colleges who established the Gazelle organisation. That then grew there are around about 20 colleges involved now, and you can see them on the map that Gillian has provided. And if you want any more information about how that group is made up, just go to the Gazelle website. It's very easy to find, seeing as I can't show you it now. Along the way, that group developed a relationship with a college in America called Babson College. Now, Babson College are recognized as the #1 international college for entrepreneurship in education. And they win that award every year. And I had the absolute privilege last year of going out to Babson College, and I actually spent a week delving into some of the principles that we're going to spend about half an hour on now. Okay? So this is just merely scratching the surface. And I'm quite happy to spend more time with anybody if they want to talk to me about the deeper principles underlying all of this, because it's very, very interesting. Here we are there. Those are the 5 college principles. There's Richard there. And if you could click on colleges, please, Gillian, we'll see a range of the colleges who are involved. If you could just scroll down a little bit from Walsall, Southwest College, which is in Northern Ireland, Liverpool, Lewisham, Highbury, Gloucester. They're spread all over the country and Northern Ireland. Our nearest fellow college is in Middlesbrough, and we're developing a much closer relationship with Middlesbrough College, which is fine because they're not a competitor. Now, I was talking about Babson College. I just want to show you something. Let's have a look at this. One of the things that they teach and preach at Babson College is a system called entrepreneurial thought and action. Babson College did a lot of the research into the methods used by entrepreneurs. And they have found a pattern that is generally used by, I think, 87% of entrepreneurs. So let's have a look at this video that describes it.
The popular business press often heroically portrays entrepreneurs as superhuman, visionary, self-confident, risk-it-all daredevils. And so, you might easily conclude that because you aren't Superman or Wonder Woman, you can never be an entrepreneur. Well, it turns out that most of these perceptions are wrong. The error lies in the fact that most of these articles focus on the entrepreneur's behavior. And if you do that, you would conclude that you need to be Bill Gates or Michael Dell. But if you instead look at how entrepreneurs think, you discover a simple, straightforward logic that is available to anybody. Step 1. They make sure that what they're about to do is something they really care about, because it's silly to launch into the unknown if you don't. Step 2. They don't overthink or dwell on the things that might occur. Instead, they get started quickly with what they have at hand and take small, smart steps towards their goal to see what actually happens. After taking these steps, they evaluate what they've learned, and if they like the results, they take more steps. In other words, act, learn, repeat. Nothing Supermanish about that. We have termed this logic of serial entrepreneurs as creaction. Let me explain creaction by contrasting it with a way of thinking that we're all very familiar with, which we'll call prediction. Prediction involves logically constructing an image of the future that is based on what happened in the past, then taking planned, thoughtful action to optimize getting what you want in that imagined future. Prediction works just fine when things are in fact predictable. For example, you can predict what the world's population is going to be in 2050 because we know the distribution of today's population and what the trends are in birth rates. In this kind of situation, predicting the future is straightforward. But when it's not, when you're trying to figure out if a new business you're going to start is going to work, or whether that cute girl you met on Friday night would be willing to go out with you, prediction isn't much help. The only way to find out is to act. This is where creation comes in. Research has shown that there are 4 elements to it. Get started quickly with the means at hand, invest only what you can afford and are willing to lose, don't go alone, bring others along, and finally, build off what you find and the results created through your actions. As you can see, it boils down to what we talked about before. Act, learn, repeat. Everyone can use this kind of thinking. It's not just for entrepreneurs. It's a common sense approach for anyone headed into the unknown. People have successfully used it for community projects, in their churches, building second homes in unusual places, and deciding to relocate or change careers. Creation is not a promise of success. It won't necessarily improve the odds of any particular venture or the success of any particular idea. Its power instead is that it enables you to act sooner and at a lower cost. So you'll be able to try many, many more things over the same period of time. Some will fail, but others will succeed. In either case, creation will always leave you alive and able to play again. So, over the course of a few years, the probability of success of one of your ideas rises dramatically. Moreover, the more you practice creation, the more it becomes second nature, and the better you get at navigating uncertain times everywhere in life. And as others join you in ventures of their own, society as a whole benefits. Download your copy of our book, Action Trumps Everything, Compliments of Babson College.
Now, in the 2 years that we've been involved with Gazelle, a lot of things have happened. There have been an awful lot of discussions about pedagogy, about how we go about achieving the transformation that we're looking for. We looked at all kinds of models as a group of colleges, all kinds of different methodologies and practices. And the key thing about the group, and the healthy thing about the group, is that the concepts and the ideas that survive that kind of scrutiny from educational professionals across the country are the ones that remain as the Gazelle ethos. And those are the ones that are going to be the most useful to us, because they've been proven by fire almost, by being piloted, by being picked apart, and by being validated by a wider audience of education professionals. So, across the 2 years, we've learned a lot of things. Last year, we tried some pilots, about half a dozen or so pilots across the college. Some of them missed the point in a way that I've described. They focused too much on entrepreneurship and business and startup and all of that stuff. Some of them failed miserably, but that's the way of things. One or two of them were a little bit more successful, especially the ones that were based on pilots that had been run in other colleges where we had some previous understanding of what could go wrong and what does work. And one of the best ones, I think, and one of the most inspiring and one of the most revolutionary ones was tried in sport with the rugby students. I've got a little bit of feedback from the students themselves in a minute, but I just want you to imagine how you would function in these circumstances. The model they adopted that had been tested and tried at North Harts College was that they wouldn't have a timetable. They wouldn't necessarily have a curriculum plan. What they would focus on very early in the program would be finding out where their learners wanted to go, so they absolutely understood the direction and the aspiration of each of their students. And then every Monday morning, they would meet as a group with the course leader and the tutors, and they would talk about what they were going to achieve over the next period of time. So built into this is an understanding of outcomes and goals and qualification aims and other aims that relate to the individual's outcomes. And they would talk about that on a Monday morning, and the students would have input into what was going to happen that week. So they might say to the tutor, can you, on Wednesday, for example, go through a few of these principles, theories and concepts with us? Can you teach us? But on Thursday, can you arrange for someone for the industry to come in? Because we want to hear that perspective. Tomorrow, we're going to work in groups and decide how we're going to get to where we need to be on Friday. So they always understood the outcomes. Now, that is completely different to the way we plan our curriculum at the moment. It places much more emphasis on the learners driving their own progress, understanding what they need to do to progress, and it's much more focused on their individual abilities and skill sets and how they develop them, and it's also absolutely focused on their destination. Now let's have a look at some of the feedback from the learners now.
Hey there, I'm Ryan, and I'm part of the Rubik's course this is Mark. We're going to SWOT analysis of how we feel the course is going so far. We're just going to start off with the strengths. There's a lot of strengths. We feel as though our own control over our learning and our assessment makes it easier for us to carry out assessments, because we know how we best learn, we know how we best perform. It also makes it easier to stay motivated, knowing that we're going to have a little bit of control on how we're going to learn, what we're going to learn, how we're going to do the assessment. It just makes it a happier environment to come into, because there's nothing worse than, as far as I'm concerned, just sitting and listening to what a teacher wants to tell them.
One of the things I think is a really big strength is we're trusted a lot by the tutors to make plans for our lessons. They do trust, if they do have something important to do, there's enough trust in them to leave us to get on with our work. Whereas I know from my old schools, we weren't really trusted that much, and they'd go get another teacher just to sort of pop in and out of the class to check up on one and make sure we were working. But we're mature enough, and they trust that maturity in us to do all the work and get on with it, not sort of mess around.
It makes you not want to let your teaching staff down more than anything else. That's what I found. when you are trusted to get along and do things by yourself, you don't want to let the people who trust you down, because you don't want to lose that trust. And another area is personal development. We're not only learning academic skills.
He goes on to say that they learn skills that are useful in their broader lives. And one of the key things he says at about 2 minutes, we'll make this available to you on the Learner portal. One of the key things he says at 2 minutes is that in a job he has outside of college, he was always regarded as being very lazy. And now they're talking about him having management potential. And he directly attributes that to the different way that they've been trusted to learn, almost. Okay, so they're developing the broader skill set that we're talking about by going through that process. If you want to ask any questions about that, Adrian Pegg was directly involved in that pilot, and I'm sure he has a lot of opinions about it. Not all of it worked, but some of it worked very, very well. So he understands all of the pitfalls in that approach as well as the advantages. Okay, so that's him there. I want to talk about what it really means for us as a college now, where we are today, and we need to move forward, and you are the people who are going to move this forward for us. I've put a document in the packs, if you'd like to dig it out, that is called A Modern Entrepreneurial Curriculum. This is an attempt to capture, in brief, what we've taken from our experiences so far and how we hope to put this in practice in real terms to begin that curriculum transformation that we've talked about and that we hope to achieve. And one of the things I'd like to look at very briefly is the concept of learning opportunities. Now, this is very much at the heart of Gazelle thinking, and it's very much about learners being able to personalize their own journey in the college by getting involved in learning opportunities that may not be directly related to their course, to allow them to take opportunities that are available elsewhere in the college and bring them into their own timetable. Okay? So this gives them the choice. At one level, we have the course level, the program level learning opportunities that we as teams design, that are part of their qualifications, that are part of their course, their program, call it what you will. But we hope to build in at area level, at group level, at college level, and take advantage of external opportunities to allow students the time and the space to build them into their own timetables and to spend time on them. Now, the challenge here, obviously, for us, because we're going to make space in the timetable for these to happen, and we're going to make resources available for these to happen, is to create those opportunities. Now, students are already involved in external opportunities that come along, cross-college opportunities that we set up. What we're looking for is for teams to create more synergic cross-discipline projects, expose the students to learners who are doing different things so that they can start creating networks and groups and taking opportunities as they arrive and not just being in a narrow channel with the same people every day. And obviously at group level, you get that broader cross-discipline focus. And at college level, we hope to design much more enriching and much more exciting enrichment activities and cross-college opportunities for learners. So this is very, very key to how we move forward. So can you bear that in mind as we move through the day? Think about how you can contribute to that. Think of some of the things you've always wanted to do. We can make it happen through this system. Okay? Across the day, you'll hear lots of buzzwords, lots of phrases, lots of key concepts will be dealt with. Learner-driven, I think we're all familiar with that. I'm going to come back to flipped learning because that is something very, very specific. Project-based. We want our curriculum to be project-based. We want people to do, experience, and then construct meaning based on that. I want us to move away from where we better do the theory first or they won't be able to do this. Let's just dive in. Let the learners find out. We want it to be experiential. We want as much as possible the learner experience to be based on reality. We want to put them in real work-based activities. Where possible, build in some kind of benefit from them from being involved in that, which is where entrepreneurship also fits in. We need it to be individualized and destination focused. It's about the individual students, where they want to go and how we get them there. And it's also about developing the expert learner. If there's one thing we want to focus strongly on today, it's the expert learner. So we'll come to that again throughout the day. Okay, flipped learning. I was going to turn this into a video, so if you could imagine my voice talking over the top with some inspirational music in the background, these slides will automatically move on. You'll have to read quick. Okay. And every day, rethink. Relevant, meaningful, challenging, engaging, and, God forbid, fun. We're allowed to have fun in this model. Okay? Okay, I'm coming to the end of my little bit. I apologize if I sound a little evangelistic, but I am. I believe very strongly in this. I've been exposed to this quite a lot, and I know that it's going to work. I hope we can bring you along with us. Let's focus lastly on the expert student, the expert learner. What are the skills that we're hoping, I've pinched this slide by the way, I didn't design it, it's very impressive, that we're hoping to develop in our students? T-shaped capabilities. You'll have heard that before. It's about depth and breadth. It's about a wider skill set than just the vocational skill set that we might have focused on in the past. It's about learning skills, thinking skills, self skills, social skills, and last but certainly not least, skills to do with being e-capable, data literate, numerate and literate, creativity, research, gathering resources. If we can turn Gateshead College learners into these people, then I think we're doing our jobs right. Okay? These are creative and enterprising people who have functional expertise. Enterprising is a good word. I'll go right back to the problem with the word entrepreneurship at the start. It makes you think of certain things. But if someone is enterprising in their outlook, then they are eminently more employable. They can bring value to organizations while at the same time they're not scared of taking their own ideas forward. And that's how they will deal with the uncertain future that they're facing. Okay, one more thing. The latest Gazelle publication is a book called Future Possible. This is a discussion document. We will put this in electronic form on the portal. This encapsulates current thinking, and it also touches on learning companies, which are a key part of the Gazelle ethos, which is basically setting up organizations where students work and they do their learning in a work context, in real jobs. I haven't got enough time to touch on that today, but they are described in here. If anybody wants a copy, I think we'll put one on each table so you can flick through it during the day, but we'll send the electronic version round and it'll be available on the portal. I hope I've given you some food for thought today. And I hope today you get the time and the chance to explore and discuss some of these things and throughout the We Learning project that follows. As I've mentioned, the structure of the day also includes some activities and some approaches that we think you might find useful to try with your learners. Now, one of the things I asked you to do was your homework. Can we have an honest show of hands, please? Who's done their homework? Would anyone like to come up? I didn't send it to you. I'm really sorry. I will give you it though. But you'll have a chance. Don't worry. You'll have time to do this during the day because it specifically applies to this afternoon's exercise. But it's also for those of you who've had a go at it. I think that's the beginning. Exercises like that are the beginning of an evidence-based methodology for profiling and measuring the softer skills that we need on our learners by using experiences from their lives to evidence the fact that they developed a certain skill. So achievements, things that have worked, that they've been involved with and they're proud of in their lives, can tell us whether they're resilient and persistent, whether they have, if they're a determined, informed risk taker, for example. So one of the challenges we have, and it's similar to diagnosing English and maths, literacy and numeracy, it's similar to vocational diagnostics to see how far learners are down a particular skill route. We need to be able to diagnose somebody's profile in this context so we can measure the distance travelled and how we're going to get them along that route. So that's one of the things I'd like you to think about as well.